Sorry.
I'm asking that how this clinical trial will be different from the clinical trials which are already happening in other countries, which are led by Pfizer or Sarepta in other countries. So this
Well, there are
why using
two ways it will be different. One is it will be happening in India, and the second thing is that this will be done with transgenes and vectors that are indigenously developed in India. So
Dr.
the
Ghosh.
hope is that the price of the therapy at the end of the day will be a fraction of what Pfizer or Sarepta would have.
Yeah, and so I have another question that do we have any idea that how the duration this mini dystrophin will last in the human body? Do we have any sense of that?
From trials done in the eye and in the blood, in case of blood disorders, it's so far at least 9-10 years seems to be the I mean, people could see therapeutic benefits. So, of course, longer follow-ups are needed to get to the next phase.
Dr. Ghosh, this is Sandeep Kalia. Can everybody please put it on mute? Dr. Ghosh, I am Sandeep Kalia from Gurgaon. I have a question. My son, he's 26 years old and is having DMD. So like you said that we are in the process of beginning of neutralizing antibody assays. So one is that can I recruit him for this particular thing? And will you give any preference to the children who are running short of time in your stage 1 or stage 2 trials?
Right. So excellent questions. So for the NAB testing, yeah, there is no restriction on who can participate in it. For the phase 1 trials for DMD, it will be done only in ambulatory children. It will not be done in those who are not ambulatory, obviously because the disease is far more complex, far more progressed and far more complex. So for safety reasons, non-ambulatory will not be in phase 1. Also in phase 1, the patients will likely, the first patients who receive it will get the smallest dose, which is considered by safety. And then if that is safe in those patients, the following patients get consequently staggered higher doses. So this will be a dose escalation. So in case where the diseases are fairly well progressed, they are likely going to need higher doses in order to combat the condition. So in any case, non-ambulatory will not be taken in the first phase. But we hope that the first phases are safe and efficacious so that we can then plan for the non-ambulatory phases.
So do I assume that at least in the second phase, these non-ambulatory children can participate because he is on wheelchair for the last, I would say 12 years.
Yeah, so that will have to be a separate study. So we will only come to it after seeing results of the phase 1 safety.
And phase 1, tentatively, how much time it will take?
Yeah, I know that's the commonest question everybody has. We are trying to get to it as soon as possible. We have been in discussions with government agencies, with CSR companies, as well as looking at industry investments to try and see if we can start it as soon as possible. The challenge with DMD and diseases like DMD, of course, is that because of the quantity of vector required per child, we have to have a very large scale production facility. And that is going to be the bottleneck. So we have to develop that capacity for which a considerable investment is required.
the thing is that, sir, right now what going on around the world, the Sarepta and Pfizer who are doing this microdystrophin and all, they are excluding certain type of mutations, like a particular group of mutations are excluded from their trials. Have you is there any thing that's happening with this particular project also, or you will be
No, I don't foresee
every type of
excluding.
mutation?
Yeah, I don't foresee excluding anybody based on type of mutation.
Okay, okay. Like the mouse models which you have used is tested have every type of mutations involved?
No, mice have only one mutation. But the transgene that we are giving, that is going to be expressed irrespective of the type of mutation.
Okay, because like Pfizer and Sarepta's results are showing they are excluding certain particular mutations from their clinical trials.
Right.
That's why I asked this particular
Yeah,
thing.
that's a good question, and maybe when we actually do the trial, we will learn that it doesn't work for certain kinds of mutations. That is a possibility.
Okay, and the trials that you will be starting with, it will include every type of mutation, or you will decide on particular type of mutation better than other type of mutations?
No, it is going to be independent of the type of.
Good afternoon. I have one question. What would be the participation criteria for phase 1, and if there is any selection criteria, and how we can approach you guys to get selection for our kids?
So for phase 1, there is a clinical protocol that has been written up. That the primary thing is are three things essentially. One is it has to have a defined dystrophin mutation. So mutations in other genes are not allowed in this trial. Of course, mutations in other genes means you don't have DMD, you have some other kind of muscular dystrophy. The second thing is that the patient has to be ambulatory. And the third thing is that they have to undergo a series of blood tests, including neutralizing antibody tests, and they have to be within the neutralizing antibody criteria that we have set.
See, yes. When the study was actually started, I think this question was already raised. It didn't include any inclusion and exclusion criteria before for Pfizer and Sarepta. Okay, but when the study is being continued, we could actually find that this DMD has different things. I mean, deletion, duplication, multiplication. You have different criteria where DMD is being divided. And based on that safety, I think kids are being enrolled for the trial. Do you have any certain criteria here? I mean, the age group.
Based on the...
Yes, non-ambulatory, you have actually told that it is not being included right now for the starting phase of the trial.
Right.
But what about the deletion, duplication, and multiplication? I mean, pattern changes. You can find different categories here in DMD.
Right. Yes.
So how effective?
Yeah, so that part of it, I'm going to defer to the advice of the clinical team once we have the list of potential candidates, and then we can decide on that. But as of now, we do not because I mean that whatever you're referring to, that is based on the mutation specific mutant protein accumulating and causing additional problems, which is why they don't want to get into the complications in the early phases, because that is causing an extra inflammatory response or something like that. So in order to see whether or not we are going to do a classification like that within our initial trial cohorts, I will have to defer to the clinical information, to the clinicians. So because if you look at the requirements for enrolling, all of these children who will be recruited or who will be enrolled in the trial will have to undergo all the detailed assessments, the North Star assessments. They will have to undergo the usual set of scans and everything to look at their function of their heart, lung, look at fibrosis, etc. So all of those information will feed into the final selection definitions.
So, sir, one last question. So, I just
Yes.
want to know what is the difference between this mini dystrophin and microdystrophin?
Yeah, so mini dystrophin. So the mini dystrophin has more domains covered in the construct. So
Okay.
although what people have shown in the past as a difference between mini and micros, Jeff Chamberlain showed it back in the first half of 2000s, that the mini dystrophins typically function better than the microdystrophins in final fourth generation. So the from a therapy point of view, I guess we should prefer mini dystrophins, but the challenge with mini dystrophin is too large for one AAV, so you have to go with the dual vector approach. So that is yet to be tried in a clinical setting, although there are dual vector trials that are starting.
This trial is also applicable for DMD patients who are having a duplication of exons. My son is having a duplication of exon.
Yeah. So this seems to be a repeated question, and quite frankly, I need to consult my clinical colleagues on it to see what sort of data they have within their cohorts in India in terms of progression and severity of the disease based on their mutation, whether it's duplication or deletion or point mutation. So yes, Mr. Nag,
Yes, sir. My son is having a duplication of exons 46 and 47, and now he's non-ambulatory. He is on wheelchair from last 2 years. Can he also participate in second phase?
Right. So in the second phase, I mean, depending on the results of the first phase, we'll be able to tell you exactly what would be the participation criteria for the second phase.
Okay, but this trial is applicable for duplication also, no?
Yes, yeah, I mean, from a science point of view, as long as you are putting back a functional copy of dystrophin, it should work. However, the efficacy of that is dependent on, in certain cases, dependent on the type of mutation you have. So I don't have the necessary clinical information on that. So I can't answer that directly.
Okay, sir. Okay.
On to the question. My son has an exon 12 nonsense mutation. So, and he is now 16 years old. What I wanted to know is Translarna has come up with the medicine. So is it possible that we give it to non-ambulatory kid here also, or do you do the research and are you going to find out the medicine, be it second phase, for them? And exon 12 is a rare one that we see. So would it be combined with the 53, 58 study as well, or is it a separate entity that you would look into?
Right. So I'm not doing any exon skipping or read through kind of work. So that is different. So Translarna or any of the Eteplirsen or any those kinds of things are different from what we are trying to do. So those are the technique itself is also different. What we are trying to do is gene augmentation, where we are putting back a synthetic dystrophin which would enhance function. So the short answer to your question is that I'm not going to do the read-through kind of studies. And second answer is whether or not your child can undergo the Translarna thing. Yes, of course, your child certainly can undergo Translarna. Whether that, a spin-off question of that is whether that will preclude your child from the gene therapy trial. The answer is it might. it depends on the final protocols in the advanced phases of the trials. So mind you, the vector dependent trials, they will cause some amount of immune response and things, so they will have to be managed by immunosuppression. So typically you want patients who haven't undergone a nucleic acid therapy before this. I mean, yes, you would undergo lots of drugs and all that, but not a nucleic acid therapy.
Be the how we can approach your team to get selected for our kids.
Right. So once we have the requisite approvals and everything, then we will announce that the trial is open, and at that point the patients will start getting enrolled, will undergo all the trial criteria testing, and will be placed on a roster on the basis of when they enroll and whether they qualify for the trial requirements.
Any idea about how much time it will take to get government approvals, etc.?
At least a year, I would say.
Oh.
Stuff. So we understand there is a huge funds requirement needed for the research. What is your suggestion and recommendation for us to get united together rather than having split into multiple groups, come into a single hand and join our hands together and then support this research so that the next set of phases, clinical trials and other stuff would become easier and faster for you to continue without any hesitation or kind of hurdles. Hope you can answer here so that everyone can have a better understanding, because there are a lot of reluctance in coming forward to contribute for this research. Thanks.
Yeah, so I mean, first thing, of course, is that everybody has to work together. The second thing that I want to point out to everyone is, and this is, I think, very important. I always tell this whenever I talk to patient groups and patient families, is whatever we are trying to do right now is experimental. This is not a proven therapy yet. Okay, so that is the purpose of the human trials. It is to prove whatever we have done in the animals and show that in the animals it is working, whether or not that can work in humans. So whoever comes together and donates money towards the development of therapy must understand that you're not buying a therapy. You are not buying a piece of the drug or something like that. This is simply participation in an effort to further the science so that it can become a therapy. So the basis of all such efforts from patients and patient groups has to be that yes, I believe that this science that these guys are doing, this has the potential to eventually become a therapy. So if you have faith in that, then you come and say that, okay, I'll further your science. So if you are furthering the science, then automatically the next step of the trials and everything comes in. But if you are, so that's the right way of going, that's the right mindset. But if you are of the mindset that I will give this and you have to do the trial, you have to enroll my child in the trial for sure, then that won't happen, because that is not how the trial will work. The trial will work in a way based on the trial protocol. So in order for everybody to support the cause, I guess we should join hands not just with the patient groups, with various patient groups. We should also join hands with various government bodies and various industries. And I also want to make one statement here is that what I'm presenting, gene therapy, it's working very well in the MDX muscles, and I'm pretty confident that it will work in systemic delivery also in the animal studies. That having been said, a lot of you will be aware from the trials that Pfizer or Sarepta is doing that that success in the animal model doesn't equally translate into humans. So you have to be cautious, and you have to consider that when this success, after this success in animal trials, when we move to human beings at the dose that we do it, it may not be successful, or it may not show as much improvement as expected. So we might have to go back to the drawing board, redo certain things, and then again do the trial. So this is an iterative process. It will keep improving over time. So you have to be ready for that. And that means that there will be hiccups, there will be delays, there will be hurdles. So the effort from the patient group and all has to be with that in mind, that yes, the science is good and correct. We believe in that science and we are going to push the science, but without a personal expectation from it immediately that it will happen tomorrow and it will come to my child, irrespective of what is happening elsewhere.
A child is affected with the MDX, and number 55 exam issues. So can he able to attend the trials?
I couldn't hear, but the answer is the same for any children. So if it's a DMD child, child will have to undergo all the tests according to the inclusion criteria requirements of a trial, and then be placed on the roster in terms of when they come in, and then that's about it. As their number comes, they will be taken into the trial.
Sir, one more question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, where it will going on, sir, trial in Bangalore?
Where it is what?
That means a place, enrollment place.
Oh, so initially, currently for the trial, we have proposed only one site, which is here in Bangalore at Narayana. But eventually we envisage multiple centers in different cities. So that will only happen after we have a very clear idea about the amount of funding we are getting, how much vector we can produce, and how many patients we can ultimately enroll.
Once my son is listed in the trial and you start taking the trials, will we have to stay in Bangalore itself, or it's like, one-time activity?
So that's a very important question. Yes. So the infusion, wherever that happens, all follow-ups have to happen there. So, yeah. So initially, of course, the child will be in ICU, pre-infusion, post-infusion, so that we can be on hand to monitor any severe adverse event, so that there is, you have to do that, because as with any experimental therapy, there is a risk of severe adverse events. So we have to monitor them 24/7. So after that first phase is over, the initial couple of months, there will be weekly assessments and things like that, most likely. So that is why it would be easier to stay there for the initial 2-3 months. Thereafter, of course, it will be, every few months that you will have to get all the analysis done. But the analysis and the follow-up absolutely has to be done at the center which is approved for the trial. And at the beginning of the trial, you have to commit to it. Okay, you can't get out of it once the infusion is done.
Understood. What will be the phase of that trial? Maybe like 6 months, 1 year?
Oh, this will be several years. Because this is gene therapy we are talking about, and the disease is a long-term disease. So the initial safety assessments we will complete within the 3 to 6 month time period. That's the immediate critical time period where all the things happen. But the efficacy will go on for at least a couple of years initially, and then maybe yearly progress over the next 10-15 years. So
list of tests that you're suggesting to be eligible to participate, can those be done here, or that also has to be done in Bangalore only?
So except for the neutralizing antibody test, they can be
Correct.
done anywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
But once the trial starts, anything that is required to be done specifically for the trial costs that are through whichever grant is supposed to cover that. It's not supposed to come from your pocket.
One last question, to be on a positive side, if we are successful and once injected, so is it a one-time activity, or this injections has to be taken?
That's the hope. So in eye gene therapy, people have shown the gene therapy to be active even 9 years.
Okay.
Almost. So that's the hope that. So as of now, gene therapies have started becoming successful only about a decade ago, right? So we don't really have 50 years of data to say that.
It's a very simple question, like for your trial or for Indian gene therapy, the steroid will be required over here also, right? The patient or the kid has to be on steroid.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that the patient has to be on steroid. There will be a transient immunosuppression that we will do for sure at the time of vector infusion.
Okay, so you mean just before 4 or 5 months, something like that? Just before the trial?
Just before the infusion.
Trial. Okay, yeah. It is not like he has to be on steroid for 2. Okay, good.
No.
And another question, maybe it is a negative question, but I would ask it, like let's say if in the trial and some unfortunate thing happen, and we have to stop the trial. But you mean, like, I want to understand, would there be any kind of support for the parents?
Right.
In case something bad happened, like from the government side or from the hospital, which was doing the trial.
Right. So that is why the trials have to be done with proper financial support. So all of these trials, they have to have insurance. So the insurance, particularly for therapies that are not approved yet, are very high, and they do cover support for the family should there be a severe adverse event. And I don't know exactly how much that support is, but I mean, eventually we'll find out once the trial protocol is approved. So all clinical trials, irrespective of whether it's gene therapy or anything else, they have to be supported by insurance, which can support the patients or their families in the event of a adverse event.
My son is 4 years old, and like parents like me, we must be looking forward for the phase 1 trial. So any recommendation for now, like currently they are on medication and steroids and all, any recommendation for now we have to, at least, because of course it will take a year or something, in terms of physiotherapy, in terms of medication, any recommendation from your end we need to take care a lot so that it is good for phase 1 trial to participate?
Well, nothing really. I think the DMD community in general is quite well aware. The goal is to have your child taken care of as holistically as possible. So, or whatever you're doing, your physiotherapy, if you're already on some medications, some supplements, etc., please continue all of that. Keep the child as happy as possible and try to delay the progression as much as possible by taking guidance from multiple clinicians. You can contact a lot of the folks in PPMD who have already done quite a bit of other, tried out many different things and are quite knowledgeable about it. So I don't have anything specific to tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Keshav Sharma.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I have two questions. One question is the exon skipping trial. Basically, if we go for the gene therapy, then it is possible that if the child has already taken the exon skipping on a particular deletion and then he wants to go with the gene therapy, is it possible for both the therapy he can take or not?
So the exon skipping, if it is so there, if the currently the ones that there are, so that you have to keep taking the drug over time. So in those cases, there can be a wash-off period, after which the previous drug is washed off from the system, so that can continue. The gene therapy can come in. You can't have both of them happening concurrently.
Okay. And second question is that how much it will be suitable for the non-ambulatory children? Basically, the trial will be basically done on the ambulatory children. Suppose for a age factor of 4 years to 7 years. But what about the child who is non-ambulatory? Basically, he is not walking, but
Right.
the body language, everything is okay. So the trial probably will be done on the ambulatory only. So is there any significant improvement will be done on the non-ambulatory children also? What do you think?
So the non-ambulatory one, it's difficult to say at this point because there's hardly any data from it. The I would say that even in the non-ambulatory, the vector will go to all the tissues. But given the degree of muscle wasting and fibrosis and atrophy, I guess that will determine exactly how much force recovery can be there in the muscle. So essentially, you are looking at force recovery, right? So yes. So that is difficult to predict in case of the non-ambulatory kids. If it's a non-ambulatory kid who has just become non-ambulatory, maybe they will do better compared to somebody who has been on wheelchair already for 10-15 years. So
no, but sir, right now, whatever we have learned that most of the children right now, the parents who might be present in the meeting, because in Indian standard, you know very well that the life is not easy. If we compare with the foreign country, so their lifestyle is very much okay. But in India, the dietary food, supplement, the taking care, physiotherapy, swimming, so there is a lot of lacking in India. So, but age factor for the ambulatory to non-ambulatory is within the range of 9 years. Say,
well,
9 years.
I would define it as that. That's why I haven't said that there's an age cutoff. Yeah. So it's only on the basis of ambulatory, non-ambulatory. Yeah. So if you are ambulatory at 15 years of age, it is still okay. You can still
in case of DMD, we hardly heard that a 15 years boy is ambulatory, means he can walk.
Of course. Of course.
So the main focus for the entire country is on you only. What I am listening and what I am hearing, that we have a big of from Mr. Arka Ghosh and Mr. Sinha, who is working with Morpholino. So basically, our motto is that there should be a 2 parallel trial if possible. One is for the ambulatory, which will give a better result for the upcoming years, and one simultaneously will be done on the non-ambulatory also. So at least you have a data and you can secure the life of the children at least. So our main focus is on that, because
Yes.
This is a long journey for a child, and the parents are waiting quite a long time. Since last 5 years, I am waiting for you. So our main emphasis is that along with the ambulatory, you should make a small or little trial on non-ambulatory also. So a lot of children life can be saved. This is our main motto.
Yeah.
Main motto.
So the challenge is that from the safety point of view, we have to go with the ambulatory first. If the ambulatory does prove to be safe, then yes, you can maybe have the arm of a non-ambulatory as well. There are 2 things with the non-ambulatory, because the disease is so complex at the moment. It is a challenge to ensure whether or not the therapy will be successful. So that is where, since you want to put the foot forward in a safe manner, so you'll start with the lowest dose. So the first few kids will get the lowest dose, and that lowest dose may not be sufficient. So, but once you get the therapy, then it will be a while before you can be re-administered, right? So, and if in the first case, if you show that there is absolutely no clinical efficacy, then all the trials will stop, right? So that's why it is more important that we go with the safest route first. But I totally understand. Yes, indeed, we would also like to have a broader application of the therapy, but that has to be determined by clinicians and by the clinical team from a safety point of view, to balance out both safety and efficacy.
Yeah, but right now, sir, what hurdle you are facing? Basically, the finance is the main hurdle, or any other clinical means the hurdle?
Well, there are multiple things. Finance is always a hurdle. There's no doubt about that. But the other thing is availability of resources. So for making gene therapy vectors, you have to create a platform which requires lots of expensive equipment, lots of consumables, etc. And all of these are on very short supply now because of the COVID that is happening. Because the platforms that we use are, I mean, these are the materials that are used. These are shared between, not just for making AAV vectors, but they're used to make adenoviral vectors, lentiviral vectors, etc. And they're used for making vaccines, etc. So that is why, you know, the turnaround times for delivery of consumables, of hardware, etc., runs into 6 months to a year. So if I order it today, it will come after 6 months to a year. So that is a major hurdle also. The third thing, of course, is trained manpower, because making AAV vectors is not very simple and straightforward. So that is why the only very few labs like ours are able to make it at a scale which is applicable for human trials. So we are continuously training new people and building our team so that it becomes bigger, but it takes time to do that.
Sir, my son is suffering from DMD. He is 18 years old, and his exon deletion is 46 to 48. Sir, can he participate in phase 1 trial, sir?
Yeah, I mean, it's as per I said before also. So the children have to be ambulatory. and have to undergo a series of tests which will determine their eligibility for the trial. So yeah, so the eligibility tests will say whether or not they can participate.
Okay, sir. And sir, some other small questions, sir. What is the process for participants, sir, in clinical trials, sir?
Well, it is not yet set because the trial participation will only start after the approvals are done. Before the approvals, we have to make the clinical grade vectors and do the preclinical testing and all that, and then only. So the details of the trial participation process and all that will be announced once the due approvals are taken.
Okay, sir. Sir, 1 minute, sir. Can I take any medicine or steroids, sir, my son, sir? Can I take any medicine or steroids to my son?
I mean, that has to be decided by your neurologist or physician who you are consulting.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
मैं पूछना चाहती हूँ, हम लोग पार्टिसिपेंट कैसे ले सकते हैं इस फेज 1 में?
हाँ, वही मैं कह रहा था कि
मेरे 2 बच्चे
अभी तो अप्रूवल्स तो नहीं हुए हैं फॉर द ट्रायल, तो ट्रायल अप्रूवल होने के बाद पार्टिसिपेशन प्रोसेस बताया जाएगा, तो देन इट विल बी एज पर द ट्रायल रिक्वायरमेंट्स, मतलब तो ट्रायल में पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए कोई टेस्ट करने पड़ेंगे वगैरह वगैरह, तो वो सारी चीजें होने के बाद ये डिसाइड किया जाएगा कि ये पर्टिकुलर पेशेंट ट्रायल के लिए एलिजिबल है नहीं है। तो वो प्रोसेस जो है वो शुरू होगा हमारे प्रीक्लिनिकल टॉक्सिसिटी स्टडीज होने के बाद, तो अब भी वो अनाउंस नहीं होगा, वो अनाउंस होगा जब तब आई एम श्योर कि सभी को पता चलेगा।
हेलो
यस
हेलो सर, मैं पता करना था, ये FSHD में भी काम करेगी जीन थेरेपी?
किसमें?
FSHD, फेस यूज स्कैपुला।
नहीं, ये DMD के लिए है फिलहाल जो हम बात कर रहे हैं, ये ड्यूशेन के लिए है। FSHD के लिए दूसरे जीन्स हैं, तो उस पे फिलहाल हम नहीं काम कर रहे हैं।
जी
मेरा बच्चा प्रत्यक्ष यानी उस 11 ईयर ओल्ड, उसको डिशन मस्कुलर डिस्ट्रॉफी है और उसको एक PGI चंडीगढ़ के थ्रू ट्रायल ऑलरेडी मिल रहा है, जो TPC जो एंट्री कुणाल ऐसा कुछ नाम है, मैं थोड़ा क्लियर नहीं हो पा रहा, ये ऑलरेडी मिल रहा है। क्या हमें दूसरे ट्रायल में भी जाना चाहिए या उसी ट्रायल में विश्वास रखना चाहिए?
हाँ, तो
अभी वो
मैं तो
ट्रायल की
कहूँगा
दवा
जो
लेते हुए
ट्रायल में आप लोग हैं उस पे विश्वास रखिए और उसको कम से कम थोड़ा सा फॉलो अप कीजिए, सो दैट यू गिव इट, थोड़ा सा वक्त दीजिए उसको काम करने के लिए, क्योंकि चाहे कोई भी ट्रायल हो, वो दवाई मतलब तुरंत तो नहीं काम करेगा ना, थोड़ा टाइम देना पड़ेगा आपको। तो मेरा एडवाइस है कि कोई भी ट्रायल में आप गए हो उसको वक्त दीजिए थोड़ा एंड सी हाउ इट गोस, क्योंकि इन जनरल सारे ट्रायल्स का जो टाइम पीरियड है वो 2 से 5 साल का फॉलोअप तो रहता है, तो इसलिए और आपके केस में तो बच्चे का इतना एज भी नहीं है, सो यू हैव सम टाइम।
हाँ, 11 साल है, अभी 2 साल 1 साल 3 महीने हो गए दवा लेते हुए, अभी बच्चा स्वस्थ है और मेरे को भी ऐसा लग रहा है कि दवा ठीक है, वो कंफर्टेबल है दवा।
तो बिल्कुल आप डिविएट ना करें, वो अगर काम कर रहा है
और ट्रायल में जाना समझदारी नहीं है।
हाँ, मतलब कोई चीज काम कर रहा है तो फिर उसमें क्यों रुकावट डालना ना।
हाँ, वो यही लगता है कि शायद ये प्रॉपर नहीं है, शायद दूसरा प्रॉपर हो, ये थोड़ा दिमाग में चलता रहता है।
हाँ, सही बात है। तो एंड इट्स एन इम्पोर्टेंट डिस्कशन, ये जरूर आप सलाह मशवरा कीजिए और मतलब जो डॉक्टर्स हैं, जो न्यूरोलॉजिस्ट हैं उनके साथ, लेकिन ये अगर काम कर रहा है और सपोज ये जीन थेरेपी काम करेगा क्या, इसका कोई गारंटी थोड़ी है।
हाँ, सही है।
तो ये तो हम टेस्ट कर रहे हैं, ये एनिमल्स में बहुत बढ़िया काम कर रहा है, वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन अब जब हम ह्यूमंस में डालेंगे तब कितना काम करेगा क्या पता। हमारा सारा जो एफर्ट है, सारा होप जो है कि हाँ ये एनिमल्स में जितना अच्छा काम किया उतना ही बढ़िया ह्यूमंस में भी काम करे, और हो सकता है काम करे उतना ही बढ़िया, तब तो बहुत बढ़िया।
सही है सर। अभी जैसे और ट्रायल जैसे जो आ रहे हैं तो थोड़ा मन को थोड़ा वैसा करता है कि यानी ये अब तुरंत नहीं असर कर रहा है, वो एलोपैथी वाली आदत पड़ी हुई है ना कि यानी थोड़ा लेते ही नहीं सही हो जाए, तो ऐसा लगता है कि उस वाले ट्रायल में चले जाए या उसमें और जाना चाहिए। तो ये इसको लेके मेरे मन में जिज्ञासा थी। थैंक यू सर।
सेजल मोदी।
हेलो हेलो।
हाँ बोलिए।
हाँ, मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि मैंने डीएनए रिपोर्ट करवाया था, उसमें मेरे बारे में लिखा है कि मुझे जीएनई नोनो का मायोपैथी है। तो नोनो का मायोपैथी और एलजीएमडी दोनों एक ही है?
नहीं, अलग अलग है।
अलग है। उसके बारे में कोई रिसर्च चल रहा है?
हाँ चल रहा है।
हाँ, तो जीन थेरापी सपोर्ट करेगी?
जीन थेरेपी सपोर्ट करेगी।
हाँ।
ये वाली नहीं, उसके लिए डीएनए जीन थेरेपी रहेगा, वो सेपरेट जीन थेरेपी है।
हाँ, तो और कुछ कर सकते हैं हम अभी?
तो वो डॉक्टर आलोक भट्टाचार्य जो है, तो वो एक प्रोजेक्ट शुरू किए हैं, मायो मिशन प्रोजेक्ट, जिसके अंडर में जीएनई जीन थेरेपी का प्रपोजल है, और हमारे लैब में भी हमने जीएनई पे काम किया है, उसको दिखाया है कि वो वेक्टर बन के एक्सप्रेस होता है, तो उसमें भी जब फंडिंग मिलेगा तब उसका भी ट्रायल करेंगे।
अभी कुछ नहीं हुआ?
अभी कुछ नहीं है, अभी खाली मतलब वेक्टर्स और ये सब बन गया है, अभी ट्रायल होने में टाइम है।
हाँ, अभी तो फिजियोथेरापी कर सकते हैं ना हम?
हाँ, अभी आप फिजियोथेरेपी कीजिए, अपना दवाई लीजिए, एक्सरसाइजेस कीजिए।
दवा लेनी पड़ती है, कौन सी मेडिकल?
कोई फिक्स दवा है उसकी, अभी ले सकते हैं हम?
नहीं, मुझे नहीं पता, ये आपको आपके न्यूरोलॉजिस्ट से ही पूछना पड़ेगा।
हाँ ठीक है, थैंक यू।
श्योर।
नटराज।
Good afternoon, sir. I'm from West Bengal. And first, I want to congratulate you for your work. And I have two questions. First, last year you talked about eutrophin. And what about that?
Eutrophin.
Eutrophin, you are going to start a trial on eutrophin, I think.
No, I think you might have me confused with somebody else. I don't work on eutrophin. So my work has always been on dystrophin, not on eutrophin. But yes, eutrophin reactivation as a therapy for DMD has been explored. So there was one trial, a couple of trials I think have been done. So, but it hasn't been as successful as was hoped. But I'm sure there are other people who are working on making it better.
Okay, sir. And second thing is for gene therapy, it is very challenging that the AAV factor can damage the liver. So how you overcome this problem?
Right, that's a very good point, an important consideration. So, so the AAV vector doesn't really damage the liver by itself. It is the dosage which becomes toxic. So for diseases like DMD, you have to give the drug at a very high dose. So it causes hepatobiliary complication, meaning both the liver and the kidney has, it's toxic to those. So this is true not just for AAV, if you give a very high dose of steroid, it does the same thing. But the challenge is because liver and kidneys are the purification systems of the body, so most of the vectors go and accumulate there. So one of the safety methods that we have talked about and we have done in the study also is to use a muscle specific promoter so that the dystrophin does not express on muscle tissues. The other thing that is going to be different from the Western trials that we have proposed in our trials, again, with the disclaimer that that has not yet been approved, we have to wait for approval, is that we are going to use an active immunosuppression protocol, which is going to be similar to the kinds of protocols used in BMT. So that we are fairly hopeful that will help us manage the toxicity in the liver and the kidney, even with high doses.
I had a question. What age group is ambulatory age group? I didn't have any idea about that.
Ambulatory means the child should be walking. So it's not necessarily dependent on the age. So,
Okay.
But by what we know from DMD, it will be the younger age children who will be walking around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
डुप्लीकेशन है एक्सॉन 56 to 60, तो हम इसमें ट्रायल में शामिल करवाना चाहते हैं सर। इसके लिए क्या प्रोसीजर कैसे?
हाँ।
ये बैठा है मेरे पास बच्चा भी स्क्रीन पर, 9 साल की उम्र है इसकी।
नमस्कार। तो ये आंसर वही है जो जब ट्रायल का अप्रूवल आएगा,
नंबर आएगा उसके,
तो उस हिसाब से फिर हम अनाउंस करेंगे, फिर पेशेंट्स आएंगे, टेस्ट होंगे,
चलो आगे की प्रोसीजर कैसे चालू होगी?
एक करके रजिस्ट्री में नंबर आते जाएगा और फिर उस हिसाब से चलता जाएगा।
जी सर।
और जैसा कि मैंने कहा कि डिपेंडिंग ऑन मतलब ये पहले फेज के लिए कितना फंडिंग मिलता है, कितना दूर हम जा सकते हैं, तो उसके हिसाब से एनरोलमेंट होगा। तो सपोज पहले फेज में 3 ही लोगों के लिए फंड होता है, तो 3 ही लोग एनरोल होंगे ट्रायल के लिए फाइनली। अगर 30 लोगों का मिला तो 30 लोग हो जाएंगे ट्रायल के लिए एनरोल। अगर 100 का हुआ तो 100 लोग होंगे ट्रायल के लिए एनरोल। तो वो तो अभी हमारे हाथ में नहीं है, वो तो अभी सारे फंडिंग के लिए एप्लीकेशंस वगैरह गए हैं, तो धीरे धीरे वो सब जैसे जैसे उसका खुलासा होगा, हमको आइडिया बनता जाएगा कि ट्रायल का साइज कितना होगा, तो वो वैसे हम अनाउंस करेंगे।
डुप्लीकेशन डिलीशन एक ही चीज है, डुप्लीकेशन है हमारे मेरे पोते की।
हाँ, नहीं डुप्लीकेशन डिलीशन एक चीज नहीं है। तो
इसके लिए भी ये ट्रायल इसमें
इसके लिए भी ये जो ट्रायल जो हम करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं वो सभी के लिए लागू होता है।
जी
किसी स्पेसिफिक म्यूटेशन के लिए नहीं है। लेकिन हाँ, ये पहले भी किसी ने पूछा है ये सवाल कि अगर डिफरेंट टाइप का म्यूटेशन है तो कोई प्रेफर करेंगे क्या, कोई टाइप का म्यूटेशन, कोई सिलेक्शन होगा क्या म्यूटेशन के बेसिस पे? तो ये बात जो है ये क्लिनिकल टीम बताएगी। ये इसके बारे में मुझे नहीं पता है कि इंडियन सिनेरियो में म्यूटेशंस का